Ferrari may have created the one problem Mercedes did not want before Monza. The SF26 has already shown serious cornering speed, but one weakness has kept hurting Ferrari on the straights. Now that weakness is being attacked. A new floor is expected at Zandvoort, followed by a revised turbo at Monza. Lewis Hamilton sits at the center of it, with the championship still alive if Ferrari's next move delivers something much bigger than hope. Mercedes still leads, but the gap can no longer be ignored. Ferrari trails by 72 points in the Constructors' Championship, while Kimi Antonelli has 219 points against Hamilton's 169. Lando Norris has already praised Ferrari's cornering performance and pointed toward engine performance as the missing piece. If Ferrari finally fixes that weakness, Mercedes will no longer be fighting the same SF26 it faced earlier this season. But Ferrari's response is bigger than one upgrade or one horsepower claim. Zandvoort tests the floor first, then Monza exposes the power unit under brutal straight-line demands. Ferrari needs both pieces to work. Before anyone talks about a title swing, there is one problem that explains why Maranello has pushed this hard in the first place. Ferrari is not simply chasing the car ahead. It needs both drivers taking major points before Mercedes turns its advantage into control. George Russell has 160 points, while Charles Leclerc sits on 138. That difference matters. Hamilton can win races, but Ferrari cannot build a constructors' challenge around one car. From here, Leclerc's results carry almost as much weight as Hamilton's fight with Antonelli. McLaren and Red Bull can also change the championship without leading it. Norris has 128 points, and Max Verstappen has 109. A Norris podium between Hamilton and Antonelli changes the point swing immediately. The Verstappen victory takes maximum points away from both. Ferrari against Mercedes is only part of the equation because every front-running rival can alter how much damage either side takes. That is why one huge Monza weekend would not solve Ferrari's problem. It needs heavy scoring across several circuits, while Mercedes still owns the stronger position. And behind the points table sits another deficit, one that explains why Ferrari's development program became so aggressive. The number Ferrari did not publish was the one that mattered most. FIA performance checks reportedly placed Ferrari's combustion engine around 4% behind the strongest benchmark. That was enough to unlock extra development freedom under a duo, where manufacturers falling at least 2% behind can receive more opportunity to improve. Ferrari was not being gifted speed, it was being given room to find it. The FIA does not judge this from one qualifying lap or speed trap. Its comparison uses controlled engine data to measure where the combustion engine really stands. Nicolas Tombazis has been clear that a duo is not balance of performance. The leading manufacturer is not slowed down. Ferrari still has to engineer its own solution, and a wrong development direction would simply waste the opportunity. There is another complication. A duo focuses on the combustion engine, not the entire power unit. Ferrari still has to manage electrical deployment, battery use, cooling, and reliability around whatever extra performance it finds. That meant the response had to go deeper than software, and Maranello had already divided that response into two very different stages. Ferrari's first step was never meant to be the headline upgrade. Around Austria, the team introduced new shell fuel work with revised calibration, searching for useful performance without immediately changing major hardware. Enrico Gualtieri and the power unit group were establishing a base before attacking the component that could unlock much more at high speed. The next target is the turbo. Ferrari's original philosophy favored strong response, but the car has paid a price when the engine is asked to keep pulling at higher speeds. Italian reports point toward a heavily revised Monza specification aimed at improving airflow, pressure control, and efficiency at high RPM. Ferrari has never confirmed a giant horsepower figure, so the stopwatch matters more than the rumor. Ferrari does not need a miracle number. It needs power that remains usable through qualifying and race distance without creating cooling or reliability problems. A spectacular dyno result means little if the performance disappears after several laps. Monza will reduce the entire story to one question. Can the SF26 finally keep pulling when the straight gets long? Monza will decide whether Ferrari's progress is real. The circuit rewards low drag and spends huge parts of the lap at full throttle, making it brutally difficult to hide a weak power unit. Hamilton and Leclerc need more than one fast qualifying lap. The SF26 must keep accelerating when speeds are already high, exactly where rivals have previously been strongest. Qualifying gives the first answer. Sunday gives the important one. Ferrari must repeat that performance as fuel, temperatures, traffic, and energy use change. The 2026 power unit places huge importance on electrical deployment, so extra combustion power alone cannot carry the car. Battery management, harvesting, cooling, and drag must all work together. Then comes racing another car. Ferrari needs acceleration early enough to attack, while keeping enough energy to defend later. If Hamilton and Leclerc can finally fight through the entire straight rather than only the opening phase, Mercedes faces a completely different threat, and that would push the next difficult decision directly toward Toto Wolff. Mercedes already has pressure of its own. Reliability has taken major results away from both cars. George Russell lost a likely top result in Canada after a battery problem, while Antonelli suffered electrical trouble in Barcelona. More setbacks followed, with Formula One estimating roughly 63 points lost across several incidents. Toto Wolff has admitted that reliability has not been good enough. Antonelli makes the situation more serious because he is no longer a rookie. In his second Formula One season, his qualifying performance has moved sharply forward against Russell. Mercedes now has two drivers capable of winning, but also two championship-valuable cars exposed whenever components begin reaching their limits. If fresh parts eventually trigger a Monza penalty, Mercedes must choose between short-term pain and pushing existing hardware further. No penalty is guaranteed, but the risk changes the strategy. Normally, Monza offers strong recovery opportunities. A stronger Ferrari could make that recovery much harder. And Ferrari has another upgrade arriving before Italy that could influence exactly how Mercedes judges that risk. Ferrari has separated its development into two useful tests. Zandvoort comes first, allowing engineers to judge the aerodynamic package before Monza adds another major variable. Earlier changes already targeted the front wing, floor, and side pods. The next evolution is expected to push the SF26 towards stronger and more predictable performance across changing conditions. That timing gives Ferrari clean information. Zandvoort can reveal whether the floor keeps the car balanced as fuel burns away, tires fade, and wind changes. Monza then tests a completely different weakness. Instead of guessing which part created the gain, Ferrari can compare two weekends and understand where the improvement really came from. Norris and McLaren will provide one benchmark. Verstappen and Red Bull provide another. Most importantly, Leclerc gives Ferrari a second car to compare with Hamilton. If both drivers gain in the same areas, the progress becomes harder to dismiss. At that point, only one question remains. What would actually prove Ferrari has changed the championship? Ferrari will know the answer when its performance survives different conditions. At Zandvoort, the key sign will be whether the car stays close to its best pace as fuel, tires, and track conditions change. At Monza, the speed trace and lap time become the proof. If Hamilton and Leclerc gain time where Ferrari previously suffered and keep that gain through a full stint, the development has worked, but improved pace must become victories quickly. Antonelli has already won 6 of the first 11 Grand Prix in 2026, while Hamilton and Leclerc have won each. Ferrari does not need one spectacular weekend. It needs repeated Sundays where both drivers turn speed into major points before Mercedes creates a gap too large to attack. That also shapes Ferrari's future development. If these upgrades work, Maranello has every reason to keep pushing the 2026 fight. If they fail, shifting more attention toward the next car becomes easier to justify. Ferrari can still change this championship, but only if its new speed becomes repeatable now. If Zandvoort and Monza confirm that, Mercedes will enter the second half with something it has not faced all year, a Ferrari with far fewer places left to attack.